Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome back to a special unprepared because I have an exam tomorrow edition of the Sporting Week.
I'll have you know that I've actually done.
But Ollie has picked up the slack. He's done all the stats. He's even brought a laptop. He's taken it to a level that I've never done before.
Yeah, I've been known to work hard at times.
So we'll see how prepared he is. We're going to test him out, and I've given him quite a varied, because he had a nice wee list made, and then I was like, oh, well, what about Scotland? Because I know no one cares about Scotland. So let's see how good his research is on a league that literally no one watches.
Oh no, I haven't researched that. I've literally wrote down Old Firm Derby, Celtic battered Rangers, and Steven Gerrard. That's
fair enough.
Yeah.
So that's our first two topics. Then we'll have Arsenal break, more Arsenal.
Yeah.
Champions League is the big news this week, and then we'll talk about why West Ham aren't getting relegated, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I think that's
okay. So Old Firm, what are your opinions? Do you know you've got Celtic battered Rangers? So for anyone that doesn't know, that was 5-0 Celtic this weekend.
Yeah, I mean the whole Celtic Rangers thing. Like, I try to watch the Old Firm derbies when I can. I always want Celtic to win, obviously. I don't know much outside of it, and I'm not a fan of Brendan Rodgers at all. So whenever he does well at the moment, I'm a little bit afraid he'll get named Arsenal manager, which really terrifies me. But yeah, anyway, talk me through
what is your
context
beef with Brendan Rodgers?
I just don't like the man. I don't even think he's a bad manager. It just really irritates me that there are so many amazing managers in the world, and he keeps getting linked to Arsenal. I'm like, he had one good season at Liverpool that sort of set itself on fire.
He had a brilliant season at Swansea, got them promoted. Then another brilliant season, got them into the top 8 of the Premiership. Then went to Liverpool, had a couple of great seasons. Had one, not even a full season, because he got sacked, half a bad season. And then since then, he's taken Celtic to 3 league titles, one of which was unbeaten the whole season.
Yeah, I don't doubt that he's a good manager. I just have an irrational dislike of him. Basically, I think it's purely because I want other managers to be made Arsenal manager. But I mean, in terms of his ego, he's got a massive ego. And it's not like he's earned his massive ego. He's not earned a Guardiola level or Mourinho level love for himself. But he's got it anyway. He's a bit him and Sean Dyche. Their beliefs that they're both the best managers in the world.
Surely Sam Allardyce is top of that list.
Yeah, no, he's the worst actually. Yeah, Allardyce.
Yeah. So basically, I want to talk about how good Celtic are.
Okay.
And then we can kind of use that to talk about what kind of a job Steven Gerrard has on his hands if he does, as he's been heavily linked with, take the Rangers job.
Yeah.
So basically, a bit of context: Celtic are 10 points clear this season, already won it. This is their 7th in a row. They were unbeaten all last season. And I think it's worth saying they're 10 points clear and they're not out of second gear. They've got nothing to play for. They've been playing pretty bad. But their big games against Aberdeen, who are in second, and Rangers are in third, they always smash them. When they need to play well, they're unbelievable. But because they lost quite early on in the season, maybe a month in, they didn't have that unbeaten season to play for anymore. Whereas last year when they had it to play for, they were untouchable. Rangers are in third place behind Aberdeen, 15 points behind Celtic, and have lost 10 of the last 11 Old Firms.
Wow.
Well, sorry, no, have lost the last 10. Their last win was 11 Old Firms ago.
Wow. I mean, in terms of Celtic, where does it look in terms of their summer? Obviously, this is a bit of a tangent. Because the league's over, they should win the Scottish Cup. Yeah. When's that?
I'm not sure.
Who are they playing?
I don't know the date. I have Hibs.
Not right.
Hibs. I think Hibs put Rangers out.
All right, fair enough. That'd actually be a decent game.
So I'd say Celtic summer is going to be a lot of hanging on to players, as it usually is. They lost Fraser Forster, lost Virgil van Dijk. They seem to have this kind of system where they bring in these players when they're kind of unproven and then sell them onto the Premiership for a fortune. So I'd say I've kind of made a list here quickly of the Celtic players that are Premiership quality. James Forrest is, Scott Brown absolutely is, Tom Rogic, Lee Griffiths, Paddy Roberts is actually a Man City player out on loan.
Okay.
And Man City refused to sell him to Celtic. This is the 3rd season on loan, I think, but they just won't sell him permanently because he's so highly rated. He's only 21, I think. Scott Sinclair's definitely a Premiership player.
Yeah.
And then I've marked these two off separately because I think not only are they Premiership players, they're like top 6 Premiership players.
Dembele
and Kieran Tierney.
Yeah.
So I think the big ones this summer is going to be Kieran Tierney and Dembele, whether they can hang on to them. Because they need them. Because for Celtic, the success isn't defined through the league because they're obviously going to win the league. It's through Europe. And if they want to get out of the Champions League group stages, they're going to need Tierney and Dembele next season, I think.
Yeah.
So, Steven Gerrard then this week has been linked to this first managerial job. What do you make of this? What are your opinions on him sort of getting this job on reputation rather than experience?
I mean, Rangers are a big club.
Yeah.
Like a huge club for your first job. Obviously, Steven Gerrard. But say, unlike Ryan Giggs, he has all the coaching qualifications. He has actually put the hours in. He hasn't just walked in and been like, I'm Steven Gerrard. In the same way that Ryan Giggs was like, I think in his interview for Swansea, he kept saying, I'd just make the players work harder. And they went like, no, but like what tactics are you going to implement? What type of football are you going to play? It's like, I'll make them run more. And it was like, imagine being managed by Ferguson for like 25 years. And all you learned from him was like, it's good to work hard. And I think Steven Gerrard, I mean, he's worked with Klopp, obviously. That will have helped him. And Klopp's whole backroom team. He has been coaching and under, what is it? They're under
18s.
Under 18s. Like, Guardiola and Zidane, they started coaching the youth teams of Barcelona and Real Madrid, respectively.
Yeah.
I think Rangers, it's certainly a big step up. But if you're going to take a risk on someone, take a risk on someone like Gerrard. And bear in mind, that club's been like, in like a disaster crisis mode for how long now?
Since 2012. So
they've been a complete mess. For them, Gerrard is a coup. And like, people will watch them. People will take more notice of them that Gerrard's their manager on like a global level. And there'll be a few players this summer who I'm sure looked up to Steven Gerrard and Rangers will come into them. And he'd be able to bring them in. I think it makes a lot of sense for Rangers. I'm not saying it's going to work, but I think as far as risks go, it's actually a fairly well calculated one.
Yeah. So I think it'll add a lot of interest to the old firms, which, to be honest, they're getting a little bored. I was saying to you before, that was kind of hard to watch.
Yeah.
Like, in Liverpool-Roma, it was like, wow, Liverpool are 5-0 up. How good are Liverpool? And it was at the weekend, it was, well, Celtic are 5-0 up. How bad are Rangers?
Yeah.
It wasn't because Celtic were amazing. It was because Rangers looked like they couldn't defend. Yeah. So I think Gerrard has a real sort of thrown in at the deep end thing, especially going up against someone as experienced as Rodgers, as his biggest rival. Obviously managed him.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
For 2 years.
Yeah.
So
I wonder what type of football he'll play. Like, what's the makeup of their squad like? Is it?
Not good.
I know it's not good, but is it? Have they got bad attack? Have they got a bad attacking squad? Or have they got a bad defensive squad? Like, what are they trying to be? A defensive team, an attacking team?
They seem... Obviously, I'm not watching them much outside of the old firm, so they're obviously going to be on the back foot against lots of better teams. They look shaky at the back, but I'd say their best players are defenders as well. Yeah. Up front, Kenny Miller, I think, just left. A big fallout. I think he's just quit or had his contract bought out.
Yeah.
So I don't actually know what kind of state their squad's going to be in, and I don't know what their finances are like, because obviously they went bankrupt and everything, but there's been a lot of talk this past year that they're kind of back in financial trouble. Not as bad, but I don't think Gerrard's going to have a massive sort of transfer, Katie.
They need to give him a good, unless it's a complete disaster from straight away. It sounds like they're going to need to give him like
rebuilding time,
3-4 years. Like that can take, like rebuilding a team with no money is very, very hard. And like, how good a coach is he going to be? Forget like tactics, formation. How good will he be at improving the players who are already there?
Yeah.
As a guy who was a top player, I'm sure he'll be able to give them a lot, but that doesn't mean much.
No.
You know, like there are loads of people who are brilliant footballers, technically speaking, and were just like shocking managers. And but then if you're going to get Steven Gerrard, if he's inconsistent this year, I mean, he's not going to finish 4th or 5th with Rangers, is he, in the Scottish Premiership? He'll still probably finish 2nd or 3rd.
3rd is probably the lowest he'll ever fall.
Yeah, so they might as well stick with him, unless, you know, in a year or two down the line, they have some amazing option they can get. Like, I still think Brendan Rodgers to Celtic was, I mean, would you say it's a coup for them, Celtic at the time?
Definitely was. I mean, he just fallen short of winning the league.
Yeah.
In the Premiership, and they went from sort of managers. Ronny Deila had come from Norway, I think. Then before that was like Tony Mowbray, Gordon Strachan. Like it's not as if they were turning down Guardiola.
Yeah.
But I think Brendan Rodgers is still there for another 3 years, because if you listen to his sort of rhetoric when he talks about it, it's all 10 in a row. 10 in a row is this big milestone for Celtic.
Yeah.
And they're 3 off it, so I think he'll get it and then go back to England.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing down links with Arsenal the other day. About 2 weeks ago, he was really playing them up. It was basically Celtic's like chairman. Yeah. Started that rumour. Yeah.
Like, he was one of the real outsiders for the job, and all of a sudden Celtic's chairman came out and was like, well, if Arsenal want him, we're not going to stand in their way. And all of a sudden he was the favourite, but I don't think Arsenal had ever approached.
No, but like a month ago, this was before it got announced that Wenger was going, Brendan Rodgers was getting linked with the Arsenal job. And he was one of the main names. Basically, Gazidis really liked him. And Arsenal's board, they're all like 90-year-old men. So obviously they wanted, sort of manager of experience in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. They're like 90 years old, yeah. And he was like going in interviews where he goes, well, I'm enjoying my time at Celtic, but as you know, I took Liverpool, who were in the Europa League, much like Arsenal, who were in the Europa League, into the Champions League. My record speaks for itself. Much like Arsene Wenger, I have managed a team who have gone unbeaten. And it was like, okay, Brendan, calm down. You're not actually going to get this job. But, I think, would you say the Scottish League is then looking up the SPL?
I think the best team is, I think Celtic at the minute are one of the strongest teams that have been in the SPL in terms of, for the first time ever, and as a fan of a lower league Premiership club, growing up in a village with like 100% Celtic fans, I had this argument all the time that Celtic weren't as good as West Ham.
Yeah.
I would put them in that kind of bracket now. I think they've got a really good squad.
Oh, fair enough.
But it's because they have the Tierney, Dembele, even Scott Sinclair. They have those players like West Ham have an Arnautovic, or, Stoke have a Shaqiri. They have the sort of standout players and then a solid squad around them. So I think all it would take is what's looking like the inevitable like Tierney to Tottenham transfer to happen, and it could all kind of...
That makes sense, because Rose is off, right?
Yeah.
Who else needs a left back? Man United?
It was always Liverpool, but then Robertson's been class.
Yeah, he's been really good.
So probably not them. So that's Scotland covered. I just want to point out before we leave, it's as if Steven Gerrard wants me to hate him.
Yeah.
Managing Rangers and scoring a last-minute FA Cup goal against West Ham.
I mean, me and you sort of slaughtered him one time when we were talking about who was the best, Scholes, Lampard, Gerrard.
I don't like him.
Yeah?
I just don't.
Loads of people don't like Gerrard, actually. To be fair, I actually don't like any of them, but for different reasons. Frank Lampard's a Tory, so I don't like him. He actually is a Tory. He wants to be a Tory MP at some point. Who's the other one? Paul Scholes is just the most grumpy, boring man in the world.
I don't like Paul Scholes at all.
And Steven Gerrard is just... What was it he did in a nightclub?
Punched a DJ?
He punched a DJ or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just something annoying about him. I can't explain it. But,
yeah.
So moving on from our irrational... No, I think fairly rational dislike
moving
of
on
Steven
from
Gerrard.
the irrational dislike of Steven Gerrard to your irrational dislike of Jose Mourinho with Arsenal United.
I'm not actually going to talk about Mourinho that much.
Okay.
Yeah, apart from some weird thing that happened, Wenger's goodbye. But basically, Arsenal lost in a fairly meaningless game. The only real meaning to it was Wenger's last game at Old Trafford, his biggest rivalry. I mean, his arrival in England basically invented that rivalry.
Yeah.
It sort of came out of thin air. Man United were like bullying everyone in the Premier League, and then suddenly Arsenal came in, and they were getting bullied and by Arsenal. But then, that happened for years. That rivalry. But this game, it was sort of nothing. We dropped most of our best players because of Thursday night against Atletico Madrid. So we gave loads of debuts to young players. And Arsenal were the better team for the whole game. We were actually... I think it was David Ospina being 5 inches shorter than any other goalkeeper at the top level is why we lost the game, because Fellaini's header, Cech would have probably saved it. Where Ospina's a better goalkeeper than Cech is with his feet. Like, whenever Cech receives the ball, every Arsenal fan gets nervous because he's so slow. All of his goal kicks go straight out. Like, it's remarkable how many of the times he just kicks the ball off the pitch. It's actually incredible. And but yeah, in terms of debuts, you had Mavropanos. He was Sven Mislintat, Arsenal's new chief scout, his first signing. in January, bought him for about €2 million. He came in and he was brilliant. He's if you designed a centre half in a lab, it would be this guy. Yeah, he's about 6'3", 6'4", either-footed, excellent with his feet, extremely quick. He was winning every single duel against Lukaku. Like, he bullied Lukaku that whole game. Graham Souness, who doesn't like any footballer, was talking about how he should have been man of the match, and he was brilliant. He looks really, really good. I think Arsenal should expect to see more signings like him, because if you look at Dortmund, every year or two, they have 3 or 4 players that like they bought from nowhere who are suddenly like best young winger in the world, best young fullback in the world. So that's really promising, because I was a little bit worried about Mislintat, because his first 2 signings were like Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan. And I thought, is he just buying players that he identified 3 years ago who are now 3 years older for Arsenal? Like, what are we going to do? Like, buy Marco Reus next?
Yeah.
And but anyway, he was excellent. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, this is one of his first games actually playing in central midfield for Arsenal. He's always been a central midfielder. He's quite Fernandinho-esque in that he's very technically able. His passing is very, very progressive in between the lines. But defensively, he's so switched on. He won man of the match. He won the most duels on the pitch, ridiculous amount of tackles. He dominated Pogba and Matic. Like, he dominated both of them the whole game. I know before the show you disagreed with me on this.
Yeah.
And I get it at the moment. I just think he had 3 months in the starting 11 earlier in the year, and he was brilliant, Ainsley Maitland-Niles. He played so well this weekend. If he starts against Atletico in the week and we win, or say starts the rest of the games this season, or plays in the Europa League final, can England not bring him?
I think they can.
But England's midfield is shocking.
Who do they drop?
Well, Chamberlain's out for 9 months, so there's a space there.
Okay.
And with Ainsley Maitland-Niles, you get a guy who can play at left back, left wing back, right wing back, and defensive midfield.
No, not going to happen.
I don't think it's going to... No, but if he starts the next 2 months and like wins a Europa League...
Southgate's too set on rigidity and what he knows. That slot is going to be filled by someone who's already played for England under Southgate.
What, like Livermore?
It's literally going to be Livermore. If, for instance, Harry Winks doesn't, turn it on for the end of the season or whatever, they're not going to take that big a gamble.
That might happen just because Dembele, it looks like he's fallen out with Pochettino. It looks like he's going to go to China this summer. His contract run, he's got a year left. So maybe Harry Winks will come in. I actually think Harry Winks is excellent. I think he's really, really good. I think he should be England's starting central midfielder. He's basically like Jack Wilshere if Jack Wilshere's body wasn't, like a ticking time bomb. And but yeah, anyway, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, you don't think he should play for England?
No.
I think
I don't get your argument, because if you're taking him just because he's played in the Europa League final, then why isn't Trent Alexander-Arnold going? Who's going to be playing in a Champions League final if, barring anything
probably will
crazy?
Go if that happens.
No, he won't.
You don't think he'll go?
They won't drop Trippier or Walker for him.
But doesn't he play at centre-back as well?
No.
No?
No.
Who does that?
Joe Gomez.
Okay, yeah. He'll go, though, Joe Gomez.
He's been in the last couple of England squads, so I imagine he will.
Yeah, that makes sense. But, I mean, if there's 1 or 2 injuries and you're going to bring a central midfielder, when you consider that's England's weakest position...
Mark Noble, I agree.
Yeah, Mark Noble.
Yeah.
Over Maitland-Niles?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, probably. Just because he's got more experience. But, he'd be like my wild card just because he can play 4 or 5 positions. I think it would take a few more injuries in central midfield for that to happen.
I agree.
Chamberlain going, though, has certainly brought him a bit closer. And man of the match performance at Old Trafford will certainly help.
Did you hear that because the Sun have nothing to write about, apparently Harry Kane now has injury concerns, so that they have a back page for the next 5 weeks?
God. I mean, did you hear the whole... Well, we probably should talk about this, because like I said, this game was like a nothing game. It was just promising on an Arsenal level. The only other thing to say is basically Xhaka fouled Alexis Sanchez with the most awful tackle after about 10 seconds, and I thought, this is brilliant. And obviously Mkhitaryan scored. That was great. Yep. And there was this whole weird goodbye thing for Arsene Wenger. Ferguson came on the pitch.
Yeah.
He gave Wenger a vase, and it had something, whatever it is, the word inscribed onto it. It was like, congratulations on 22 years. You're a great rival and friend, and stuff like that. All the Man United fans who, the abuse they've been giving to Wenger for years. I can't say it, but it's, you know what it is, and it's awful, the songs they were singing about him. They were all clapping, and I thought, that's just wrong. And then Mourinho, while Wenger and Ferguson makes sense. They're good friends. They were rivals for years. A photograph together with the Vase. He then forces his way into the photo and like shakes Wenger's hand, and you can see Wenger's face is like the whole time. This is so patronising, because he even said after the game, if they still considered me a threat and I was still winning league titles, they would have not have thrown me a goodbye party. You know, like he knew it was like he found it like emasculating. He really hated it. He said it was a nice gesture, but it was like, I think that maybe was one of the moments where it really sunk into him that like no one considers him a proper manager anymore. You know, that they just threw him a goodbye party. His biggest ever rivals were like, more so than Tottenham, really, just because Man United competed more.
Definitely, yeah.
And it was just a bit horrible to watch. I couldn't actually stand it. But that's basically that game done.
Do you think this marks the kind of end of the United-Arsenal rivalry? Now that Wenger's gone, Ferguson's gone, all the players from that era are gone.
I think so. I mean, certainly for a few years, you have to imagine financially Man United are always going to be at the top of football in the Premier League. Arsenal as well, financially, more money than Liverpool and Tottenham. Chelsea now haven't really got a lot of money. So actually, really, the three richest clubs in the league, in terms of a sustainable financial model, it goes Man City, then Man United, then probably Arsenal and Chelsea, and Liverpool are on the come up. So we'll always be at the top, and it will always be a big game. But you have to consider, are Man United going to challenge for the league title next year? With Mourinho and his weird, they can't even really defend or attack football.
Not unless something mad happens at City.
Yeah, and I mean, Liverpool look brilliant. Arsenal probably aren't going to challenge for the title unless they get the managerial appointment perfectly and can like pull off some amazing transfer deals.
Who would you pick, just out of curiosity?
At the moment, I'm a big fan of Jardim at Monaco.
Okay.
Because I hear people who want like Simeone, and I think
not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And also, Arsenal have such an attack-minded squad.
Yeah.
He'd have to buy so many players for it to work. Jardim at Monaco, you look at him, he knows how to play with two centre forwards. We've got two excellent centre forwards. He did it with Falcao and Mbappe, where he'd have Aubameyang and Lacazette. He knows how to play attacking football. All he'd need is basically, to replicate it at Arsenal, all he'd need is a Fabinho-type player. Because Granit Xhaka's improved a lot. Ramsey's excellent. Ramsey's like he's a box-to-box midfielder like Bakayoko, except Ramsey's actually very, very good. Bakayoko's very, very bad. And I feel like he'd only be one player, maybe one defensive midfielder away and possibly a goalkeeper away from being able to do what he wants to do. And he improves young players a lot, and he actually plays them. And we've got a lot of good young players, Mavropanos, Maitland-Niles, Reece Nelson. So I'd like to see that. And then you've got people like Fonseca at Shakhtar, who I really like. And who else is it? Allegri. I couldn't really argue with Allegri because his teams aren't completely defensive. He's not a Simeone extreme. I feel like he could still do a lot of our squad. And then you've got your sort of left field ones like the Liverpool man who's leaving. We'll talk about that after.
Yeah.
And Arteta as well, because it would be a weird one, Arteta, a huge risk. But I feel like with the right people around him, with the things he's learned at City, and he's always been considered like tactically one of those footballers who you could tell from like age 0 that, you know, he was going to be a good manager. Like everyone wanted to work with him. I think Real Madrid, Tottenham, and Man City and Arsenal all offered him a coaching role. That says a lot about him.
Yeah.
He will be a manager, and I think he'll be a very good one.
More Arsenal. And maybe even judging by the break there, I had to cut Ollie short. We might even have another football conspiracy theory.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
a historical one this time.
Yeah. Look, I'd like to apologise about all the Arsenal, not just today, but
just in general.
Just in general, you know. Like, I know this is quite a niche podcast in that it's basically 50% Arsenal, 30% West Ham, 20% the rest of the world. But yeah, no, we're going to talk about Arsenal versus Atletico. It's potentially Wenger's last meaningful game because none of the league games matter in any more, only in a sentimental sense. And yeah, look, it's going to be very unlikely for Arsenal to go through. We have a shocking away record this year. We've got no away points in 2018. Our only away wins this year have been in Europa League against Ostersunds and AC Milan. But then you've got Atletico's home record, unbeaten all season. They've only conceded 4 goals all season. So we're 4 goals. We cannot score away from home. And at home, they're what? Up 10 men down? 10 men down.
Yeah,
they had one player.
Easy.
Yeah, it was just Oblak, which is actually not too inaccurate. It was basically just Oblak versus Arsenal. It's probably our best performance this season. We absolutely battered them. We dominated the game. Players who've been extremely inconsistent for Arsenal gave their best performances, some of them in over a year, 2 years. Bellerin, who's been a bit of a mess this last 18 months, was incredible. Granit Xhaka, he's been in good form lately. He was very good. We should have won the game. We should have put 3 or 4 past them. We absolutely battered them. Oblak did some just ridiculous saves. And, Simeone, he actually was so convinced before the game that an Atletico Madrid player was going to get sent off, which says a lot about how just aggressive his teams are and how soft, European referees supposedly are. He was just convinced it was going to be 10 men. So he had the players train 10 versus 11 in case an Atletico player got sent off. And it did happen straight away. He also got sent off. You can't train for that you can't prepare for that in training though. No. Manager getting sent off. It didn't have much of an effect. We battered them. It was 1-0 up. It was a good score for us still, 1-0. Sure, 10 men, you want to put a few more past them. Final few minutes anyway. Koscielny's sprinting back to... There's a long ball. Koscielny and Griezmann are sprinting back to goal. Koscielny covers his run well. He's keeping up. He's not too slow. He gets ahead of the ball. He does everything he can. And then he tries to do a clearance kicking it backwards over his head. He kicks it into his own chest. Yeah. And it then just bounces to Griezmann, who he makes a bit of a mess of it, and Mustafi nearly stops it going in, but they scored. And in the end, it was, considering I would have taken 11 versus 11 against Atletico 1-1. It's not terrible. You're still in the tie, but it's just heartbreaking because, why do Arsenal make things so difficult for themselves? But,
to make it extra special when they win.
Yeah, because that's the thing with Wenger. He always puts himself into these corners and then somehow fashions a win out of it. Like Man City last year in the FA Cup semi-final, we were awful. Leading up to that, and in the first half we were pretty poor. We batter them in the end and win that game. Chelsea, before against the FA Cup final against Hull 3 or 4 years ago, it looked like it was going to be his last ever game. He wins the FA Cup. He stays. He does this a lot, and there is this slightly pretentious part of me where I think it's written in the stars that he'll get to Europa League final, because if he plays against Marseille in the final, Arsenal playing against Marseille, he was the manager of Monaco for 7 years, and they were the 2 big dogs in France at the time. And he won the league in his 2nd season with Monaco, and they were widely considered to be the best team in France at the time. It turned out afterwards that Marseille, after that, kept winning the league. It turned out that was a whole match-fixing, drugs cheating thing, and Wenger kept finishing 2nd because the team ahead of them were just cheating and paying off everyone in the league. Wenger then spoke out against it. He then found it hard to get a job in France after that, and he basically had to go to Japan in exile almost, pretty much. I'm not even kidding, just in order to stay working as a manager. And for Arsenal to get them in the final, if we get through and beat them, it would just be the perfect night for Wenger.
Poetic justice.
Yeah, although, as you've said, the reality is Payet will just demolish our non-existent defence.
From what I've seen, obviously I'm not watching full Marseille games, but Payet looks to be back at sort of peak West Ham form.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable. He's so good to watch. I can't honestly think of a footballer outside of your Salah, Messi that I'd rather watch. He's just so creative. He's like the anti-Ronaldo. He's not quick, he's not strong, he just does these mad things.
No, I think I absolutely love watching him. Marseille have been in amazing form this year. You've got who have you got there? You've got Foden, who was in England for a while at Newcastle. Yeah. He didn't really do much this year. He's just
he's been brilliant.
Absolutely ridiculous. I look at France. There are teams in France, bottom of the league. Their players are just ridiculously good. I reckon France's B and C team has Lacazette and Giroud in it.
Yeah.
And, their B, C team is better than, England's best 11. It's just a ridiculous country. France is just there taking the mick. Yeah. But anyway, back to this game. Costa is back.
Okay.
Frightening for Arsenal. Although Rob Holding and Mertesacker did their weird tag team thing of him last year, where they actually did a good cop, which was Mertesacker, the 6'5", 33-year-old World Cup winner. He was the good cop. Rob Holding, 19, 20-year-old, ex-Bolton player, was the bad cop. It was really weird. So that's going to be Griezmann and Costa. That's going to be really, really hard.
Will they play them both?
Yeah, they usually do. They sort of play like a very defensive 4-4-2. It's like they have no wingers. They sold Carrasco in January
to China.
To China, yeah. The country of China bought him.
Yes.
I mean, and no one knows Chinese team
just
names.
go to China.
Yeah.
It's just this pit where like Oscar and Ramirez and those guys from Atletico Madrid are just kind of floating about.
Yeah, pretty much. And so their midfield is basically 4 defensive midfielders, but 2 of them are positioned out wide. They've got Sal Miguez, who plays in the middle. He's very good.
Yeah.
Koke, they play on the left wing now. I don't actually know many Atletico Madrid players. There's not a lot of names there. Their defense is very... The thing is about their defense, in the 10 minutes leading up to their players sending off, they looked really shaky. Like Arsenal, without Mkhitaryan, were absolutely battering them. That's the only upside. I actually think Atletico, that thing people say about it's harder to play against 10 men, almost always nonsense. Against Atletico, it basically means they do what they like doing, defending. They don't have to try and score.
They've got quite a solid defence, don't they? They've got Godin and then, Jimenez, the Argentinian guy.
They're very good.
And the guy whose name I can't pronounce it right back, but is also very good, like Verschalco.
Yeah, he's suspended.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, and they've got no right back, so they're going to have to play a centre-back up right back.
Partey, is he not play right back?
No,
centre mid.
Oh, maybe, but basically they've got no natural right back.
Yeah.
I think Juan Fran's injured. The guy last week got suspended. Left back, I think it's Felipe Luis, right?
Yeah.
That's an old defence. Godin's over 30. Felipe Luis is over 30. I don't actually know how old Jimenez is.
He's young.
He's young? Okay. Yeah. And their right back is just whoever they can get, basically.
Yeah.
So they've got a lot of players out of position. They weren't good even with 11 men against us. And like I said, it actually weirdly suited them to just defend the whole game. So Arsenal won out of it. Wenger at the end of the game last week said, that is the worst possible result that could have happened. And I thought, have you not seen us get battered repeatedly by top European teams?
Yeah.
1-1 is not a disaster. And I do actually think we'll score. And bear in mind, Lacazette's been in outstanding form. He's been excellent. Ozil, Mkhitaryan have been very good. Ramsey's been outstanding this season. I think the midfield duo, it's probably going to be Xhaka and Wilshere. It should be Xhaka and Maitland-Niles, because Wilshere doesn't really know what he's doing lately. He's not sure if he's a number 10 or a number 8. He runs around everywhere and he just exhausts himself. He's a bit of a mess at the moment.
Yeah.
And I don't think he should play. And obviously Mavropanos was outstanding. Mustafi is he's objectively quite bad.
So you would take the gamble then?
I mean, why not? Like, Arsenal shouldn't win this game anyway. We're terrible away. They're like the best home team in the world. And I think he'll take one of those. He'll start one of those two. Probably Maitland-Niles. Mavropanos. I mean, Mustafi, Arsenal tried to sell him in the last 2 transfer windows. Why is he a starting 11 player? Like, honestly, why isn't Rob Holding starting ahead of him? Mavropanos, would it be too much of a step up for him to play? And also Chambers was excellent at the weekend. But Chambers and Koscielny as a partnership doesn't really work. Mavropanos is the polar opposite to Koscielny, in that he's just a giant Harry Maguire-esque centre-back, but a lot quicker than Harry Maguire. So I think one of Maitland-Niles or Mavropanos will replace either Wilshere or Mustafi. I hope so anyway. And that basically sums up the tie. Atletico should win, Arsenal, but Arsenal aren't out of it, and they've got no bench. Like Atletico Madrid they do not have a bench. Arsenal will have options. We'll have Welbeck, he's been very good lately. Iwobi's been excellent. It looks like Mohamed El Neni might be available as an option on the bench. Eddie Nketiah has been very good. I think whenever he's featured for Arsenal this season, he's literally only played a few League Cup games and came off the bench in the league. He's looked very good. I'm not as fearful as most people, because I always have this smug belief in Arsene Wenger that, like, whenever things look so bad, he does find a way. But then I think he's been riding his luck for a while now.
Yeah.
he's probably run out.
Okay. So you're predicting with your heart Arsenal, but your head Atletico? Is that fair to say?
I'll take a gamble and say 2-1 Arsenal.
Ooh, go score twice? Or is it 1-0 and 2-1 on aggregate?
2-1 in the game.
Okay.
I think Arsenal are going to score against them. I think it's their league record where they just don't concede. Bear in mind, their form lately in La Liga, they've been pretty poor. They got battered 3-0 the other week by, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Real Sociedad. Absolutely destroyed. First 11. Their team's really old. A lot of the players have grown tired of Simeone's sort of, just his demeanour. You know, the guy is like an animal and he plays very boring football. If you're a player like São Miguel's, Koke, very gifted technical midfield controllers, and he's making you play as like a second fullback, it's not fun. I think that team's really... The fact that they're in the Europa League when they were in Champions League final last year and 2 years before that suggests that this team is really completely at the end of its cycle. They've got no wingers. They've literally got no wingers. Their defence is old. Griezmann's going to go. Costa's not even young.
No.
So they've got a very old team. And I think Arsenal have got a lot to fight for this season. The players at Arsenal, they really love Arsene Wenger. They just don't really believe in him anymore. It's this thing that he's lost the dressing room isn't really true. It's just tactically on the training ground. His methods are just so repetitive now. It has no more effect, but the players really, really admire him. So I think they're going to turn up on Thursday. I actually think Arsenal are going to win.
I'm hoping that this game reconciles my feelings with Griezmann, because I have no idea what to think about Griezmann. Because on one hand, he's quite exciting to watch. He scores good goals. On the other hand, he does Fortnite celebrations.
Yeah.
Which I play Fortnite, I don't mind it, but if Griezmann and Dele Alli are doing something, I generally tend to lean against it, or lean away from it.
Yeah.
And also he scored twice against Ireland in the Euros.
Oh, yeah.
And did his stupid call thing.
Yeah.
Which, annoyed me. So I don't know how to feel about him, so maybe this week we'll sort it out.
I mean, who do you want to win? I'm pretty evil.
I want Arsenal to win, because I like Arsene.
Oh, okay.
So just purely for him, I'd like them to win.
I'm pretty evil. I don't want any other... Basically, West Ham, if West Ham were in Europa League, I'd want them to win it, if Arsenal weren't in it. If they're in the FA Cup final against whoever, as long as it wasn't against Arsenal, I'd want them to win. But any top six team, I do not want to win. I don't want Liverpool to win the Champions League. They deserve it. They are the best. I think they're the best team in the Champions League. Not in terms of players. Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, much better players than Liverpool. But Liverpool, their football is just the best. I don't want them to win, because we're friends with Liverpool fans.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to talk. I don't want to have to see them in that mood. That smug, I don't want to deal with that at all. And I like the fact that Liverpool still haven't really won anything major in 13 years.
Yeah.
I like being able to use that against them. I do not want them to win.
I'm fully on board the Burnley Europa League wagon for next year.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to see Salzburg, what is an Ashley Barnes? What do we do with this?
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that. That's that's the dream. That's what everyone says. You should bring Andy Carroll to the Euros. Those European defenders aren't used to dealing with him.
Yeah.
I really want to see these European defenders dealing with
They're 1 point away from confirming it. They only have to finish 7th.
Yeah.
But if they do finish 7th, it means their season starts in mid-July.
Yeah.
Arsenal are just throwing the league though.
Back to one of our earlier football conspiracies. This might have actually been pre you being on the show. That's how early this conspiracy is.
Wow.
West Ham threw the Europa League qualifiers 2 years in a row, because Gold & Sullivan would have had to pay extra to rent the stadium for those, because it's not included in their deal.
I mean, he's a ridiculous man.
I mean, it's the only other logical explanation for the fact that one season, West Ham split their pre-season squad into the first team and the reserves, and the first team played a friendly while the second team played the Europa League game.
That's pretty remarkable. That was when Bilic was there, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I remember that. Oh, was that after your amazing season?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, they were in Europe for the amazing season too. We had
really?
2 years in a row.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, who got you into Europe the year before?
Allardyce.
Where did you finish in the league?
8th, but I think it was a fair play thing.
Oh.
We got in through fair play and then got 3 red cards in our first Europa League tie. Or three red cards in our first 3 Europa League games.
get in.
Yeah. Take that, fair play. That was Bilic coming in and being like, no, we're not doing this anymore. We're going to play the way I want to play. And if that includes kicking these semi-pros off the pitch, that's what we're going to do.
I'm just shocked an Allardyce team got a fair play anything,
Especially an Allardyce team with Kevin Nolan in it.
Yeah, God.
Okay, so we're done with the Europa League. Let's talk about real football now.
I'm not even going to argue with that. The Europa League, honestly, Jack, it's been so boring. It's been, until like the last 2 rounds, it has just been nonsense. Like even AC Milan was nonsense.
It's basically an entire tournament of the Champions League games you don't want to watch.
Yeah, it's a celebration of the best, quite good teams.
Yeah.
That should not be a tournament.
If Leverkusen versus Zenit was on the Champions League, I think I'd skip that one.
Yeah,
basically. It's basically a whole tournament of that.
Yeah, it's terrible. But
okay, so which one are we starting with?
Roma, Liverpool. Actually, no, that's nonsense. Bayern versus Madrid.
Okay.
We both watched the game.
Ulreich. Sven, isn't it? Sven Ulreich.
Sven what?
Ulreich, the keeper.
Sven Ulreich, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I didn't actually know his name. I just wrote poor.
Yeah. I can't figure out how a Champions League semi-final quality goalkeeper doesn't know the back pass rule.
And you know what? If he did catch it,
it's an indirect free kick.
That's a better alternative.
Yeah.
I see that happen all the time. I think Czech did it in like pre-season this year, and I was watching it, and I think he's not even going to get booked for that.
No,
it's just an indirect free kick. Yeah. And if you're a real team, you're not going to concede an indirect free kick.
But you might to Ronaldo.
Yeah, but I mean surely that's worth the risk. I mean, I know it's hard in that. He probably should have been able to get it with his feet.
He definitely should. It was an awful back pass, but he should have been able to just put his foot through it, and then he went with his hands and halfway down realised, I'm not going to make this, and threw a knee at it and just missed.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to choose what hill to die on, and that is give away the indirect free kick.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
You know what? He wouldn't have got that much stick for it. He would have got a bit. Some people would have been like,
no, it all would have been on Tolisso.
Yeah,
the awful pass.
Yeah, it was, and he was. I kind of felt bad for Tolisso as well because he was brilliant the whole game, and he has to take a lot of responsibility for that. I'm worried about the goalkeeper though. Did you see the end of the game?
No.
Every other player comes off the pitch, and he was just sitting in his own box on his own. And I thought he needs people to get near him because that's like he's a young goalkeeper. Goalkeepers, I think they got more pressure on them than like anyone else in football.
Yeah.
Like I honestly, I needed to see like Neuer like walk up to him and like tell him it was okay, or get his teammates to come and pick him up because I was like, I would not want to be him this morning.
Yeah, he probably realised it's not only has he just lost the Champions League semi-final, he's probably lost his only chance at pushing Neuer.
Yeah,
like if he'd have had a great game, he could have pushed Neuer. Like obviously Neuer's going to be coming because he's probably the second best keeper in the world, maybe even the best. Like he's going to, but to push him for first team place, you're going to have to play unbelievable. And if you make that kind of mistake on the biggest stage of all, like you're never going to put him out of the team.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, Neuer's actually been fit. He's been training with the first team for a while. And they were saying, look, we're not going to rush Neuer because this guy's been so good.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of thing can end a career. Like goalkeepers get remembered more for their mistakes than anything else.
Oh, what do you call the guy that played for United before Bartes? I can't remember his name. Got
Bartes
nutmegged.
was pretty shocking, to be fair.
It'll come back to me. But there was the keeper that United...
Tim Howard.
Nah, they bought directly to replace Schmeichel in the early 2000s, and he was awful.
Yeah.
And he just got remembered for it. But yeah, that's basically this is going to hang over his head. Anytime anyone mentions Ulreich, it's going to be, the guy that forgot the first rule of goalkeeping in the Champions League semi-final.
Yeah, I mean...
Massimo Taibi. There he is. Didn't even need to Google him.
I don't even know. I've never even heard of him.
He's like clip number 1 on every football bloopers reel.
Oh, yeah.
He just went to kick a ball and missed it, and it ran through his legs, and Ferguson was just sitting on the bench with his head in his hands.
I mean, Ferguson, it took him years to get the goalkeeper thing right.
Yeah.
It was Van der Sar.
Yeah, it turned out they had to spend money on one.
Yeah, I mean, like, I remember Henry used to just batter Bartes, like, every year. Like, he used to do some, like, disgraceful thing to him every single season. Bartes was really short. Like, ridiculously short for a goalkeeper. I think he's like a Spina's height, about 6 foot, which is... I feel bad saying this. I do think it's the one position on the pitch where you genuinely have to be massive. Like, there are good centre-backs who are 5'10". There are not good goalkeepers who are 5'10".
With the exception of Casillas, who's tiny.
Was he actually tiny?
Well, tiny for a goalkeeper. Sub 6 foot, anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. But, I mean, even he's, like, fallen from grace a bit.
Yeah.
Was he ever, like... Would you ever say...
Yeah, he was definitely world-class, but it was just because he was so kind of light and quick. His reflexes were unbelievable. He was never the most, like, physically imposing keeper that was going to come out and catch a cross or anything.
Yeah.
It's just... His shot stop him was next level.
Fair enough.
But, yeah, I get your point. You'd rather have, like, someone like Fraser Forster, who's, like, 6'8".
His form's been terrible. So like,
no, but I mean just that kind of
that size.
mountain.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, that's why Czech still is passable, just because he's massive. But that's about it. What were we talking about? Sorry, I make everything about Arsenal. It's terrible.
We were on Bayern Real Madrid, so it makes sense we went down the keeper alley.
Okay, yeah. Navas was excellent.
He was, which is a shame because, like, he's still going to go in the summer or be replaced. I think De Gea is definitely going to go there.
I hope so. That would be so funny. Because you know what? United, they can't defend this year and they're so reliant on him.
Yeah.
I think they'd collapse next year. Like, I'm talking 4th or 5th if he goes. And that would do the whole Mourinho gone third season.
Yeah.
I hope Mourinho gets sacked, basically. For those of you who haven't listened before, I'm not his biggest fan.
Yeah. Okay. So, you watched the game.
Yeah.
How badly did Liverpool attack both of these teams? Like, how well do they match up? Because I was watching that game thinking Liverpool were going to, against either of these teams, Liverpool are going to have so many opportunities.
Here's what I'll say. I think Liverpool basically have to be 2 or 3 goals up by like half time or 60 minutes in. Because one, Liverpool can't do the high pressing for 90 minutes. No team's ever been able to play at that intensity for a whole game. I think they're going to have to score early, or they're going to have to make a decision. Do they do what they've been doing all season? Blow a team out of the water straight away?
Yeah.
They've been doing it all season, so they should try, or should they try and conserve their energy? Because if they throw everything at Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, sorry.
Yeah, confirmed.
And they can't score. You know, the goal, Navas is excellent. Ramos and Varane are just outstanding. Then they've just got no legs. So did they try and play it clever and like play Real Madrid?
No.
Cagey?
No,
because Modric, Kroos, and Kovacic, or whoever they play, Kovacic or Casemiro, Real Madrid will destroy them at that game.
Well, this is their 4th
Liverpool's
Champions
midfield
League.
is not that good.
This is their 4th Champions League final in 5 years. It's not as if they're going to be nervous.
No.
They're going to be nervous, but nowhere near as nervous as like Alexander-Arnold, aged 18, is going to be.
I mean, you imagine Karius would be nervous.
Yeah.
Alexander-Arnold.
Even Lovren, like, he's an experienced player, but he's never played in a Champions League final.
Van Dijk's never even been in a game. I don't think he'll struggle, but this is new to him. This is still new to him. He's like their most experienced.
He played Champions League at Celtic, but not obviously to this stage. But...
Yeah, I mean, so this is a new experience for him, really. And who's their midfield? Wijnaldum's not great. In a weird way now, Henderson's probably their most reliable midfielder.
And James Milner.
So those two will start because Chamberlain's not going to play.
Salah's probably the most confident man in the world right now.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to faze him.
But that's the thing, though. Do you think... So are you with me? Do you think Liverpool should just literally...
Oh, yeah, they have to try. They can't try something new. They have to just try and blow them out of the water. Yeah. And I honestly don't think there's a team in the world that Liverpool wouldn't score against if they do that.
Yeah,
they're definitely going to score. It's just whether they can score enough and conserve enough energy. Because with Real Madrid against the Atletico, the first time they played, wasn't it 1-1 on 80 minutes and it ended 4-1?
I think it was 1-1 at extra time.
At extra time, that's what it is, yeah. And then Gareth Bale scored 2, I think.
And then Ronaldo scored.
So if they go in to, say, blow them out of the water, score 2, Real Madrid scored 2 later on, all of a sudden you've got another half hour to do.
Yeah.
With Real Madrid, you're allowed 1 extra sub, aren't you?
Yeah.
Or is that rule not in the Champions League?
No, that is this year.
Okay, so, you know, it's not going to make that big a difference.
And Real Madrid have a good bench.
Yeah.
Like, I'm with you. I do think... Yeah, I think Liverpool, honestly, could find themselves 2 or 3 up at halftime.
Yeah.
It's just if they try something clever... Like, Guardiola would probably overcomplicate this game. He'd try something really clever, like he did against Liverpool, and it just completely messed up. I think Klopp really has a belief in his in the football he plays. Like, at Dortmund, he was so wedded to his style of football that in his final season, they were in the bottom half of the table most of the year. I think they finished 8th in the end. Yeah. This is a guy, I don't think he'll do a Wenger or a Ferguson and be at Liverpool for 20 years and be mostly at the top for that time.
Yeah.
I think he'll give them 6 or 7 years at the top, a couple of Champions League finals, maybe a win or two. I think he'll win the Premier League while he's here. While his ideas are still fresh and new and working, he's got to just stick to them. And I think they're going to win the Champions League. I think as a unit, they're a better team than Real Madrid. No one knows what Real Madrid are. They're nothing. Like, they're not a possession team. They're not a counter-attacking team. They're not a pressing team.
They're definitely not the Real Madrid of last year either.
No, they've got no shape, no form. They're just complete. They're just luck. You know, that's like personified. You know?
Yeah, but at what point does it stop becoming luck? You know, because it's not as if they had an easy run. They played Dortmund.
Yeah.
They played who else? They played Spurs.
Yeah.
Played Bayern. Played who did they play in the first? They had
Juventus.
Juventus. Yeah. So they've had a really hard sort of run.
Oh
at
yeah,
what
totally.
Point does it stop being luck and start being they're good, but they just don't look it?
I mean, they are good. I just think they don't have a style of play, and that's a big issue. Like I said, I think if Liverpool aren't 2 or more up with, say, 30 minutes to go or 45 minutes to go, I think Real Madrid are going to win the game. And that sitting deep thing they did against City in the second leg for large parts of the game,
not going to work.
Modric and Kroos will just walk through them in midfield.
Yeah.
Ronaldo is Ronaldo. He'll still beat Van Dijk most of the time. Benzema, he hasn't been scoring a lot this year, but the work he does is still excellent. He's basically like, Firmino is basically a luxury version of Benzema now.
Yeah.
And in fact, I actually think Real Madrid should try and get Firmino this summer.
If I were Jurgen Klopp, I would have the next sort of 2-3 weeks, whatever it is, the Champions League final, have Salah on the training pitch with Mane and just say, teach this man to finish.
Yeah.
Because Mane gets in unbelievable positions, but he finishes like me.
Yeah.
He is awful.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see like what Guardiola could do with like Mane. Like a similar thing with Sterling maybe. Because the thing is with most strikers and attacking players, it's more about the amount of chances they get. Like, if they're getting in the positions, it's good. Like, Henry, every game would miss, like, a one-on-one or 2 one-on-one.
Salah is the top scorer and has also missed the most clear-cut chances.
Yeah, that's like Sterling, I think, bear in mind, he's probably 4 or 5 years younger than Salah.
Yeah.
I think he's got a Salah-esque season in him.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a couple of years' time. Maybe even next year, you know. Because he's got, 21 goals this year?
Yeah.
If he could quite easily get well over 30 next year or the year after that. I think I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm talking about the Champions League next year.
Yeah.
I think Man City and Liverpool will be the best 2 teams in it. Because, like, the frightening thing about Liverpool is even if they don't win the Champions League, and they have no right to win the Champions League this year, because their squad it's pants. You know what I mean? Like, it is not a good squad. Like, in the top 6, they probably have... I mean, even Carragher was talking about it. Most Liverpool fans were saying that at the beginning of the season. They probably have the weakest squad in the top 6. Not weakest 11. Just their squad itself is poor.
Yeah.
But next year they're going to have Naby Keita. Are they going to... You imagine they'll get a top centre-back, maybe another full-back. They're going to be incredible next year. So I think even if they lose the Champions League final, sure, Liverpool fans will be devastated, but they're still on such an upward trajectory. It's incredible, really.
Okay, so this was so long ago, you might have heard paper flicking there, that it was literally in my last notebook for this.
Yeah.
We had all the odds, and Liverpool were something like 16-1, and I had a question... Is this too good of odds? Like, why do people give Liverpool a better chance than Juventus? And me and Ben, I think it was me and Ben, or maybe it was even me and you, talked about how Liverpool don't have a chance. Like, that's the stage they came from.
Yeah.
And now we would probably say they're favourites.
I think so. I think I suppose you still have to say Real Madrid, they're favourites. But I think a few months ago, I sort of, maybe at the quarter-final stage, I sort of thought, I can see Liverpool beat anyone. The only team I thought they'd actually struggle against if they got them were Juventus, because I think it would have really suited Juventus just to like soak up all the pressure and play in their own half and give Salah like no space. Juventus haven't been that good, so that didn't really materialise. And when they got knocked out, it was the first time I thought, wow, this Liverpool team, I think they've got a good chance. Bear in mind, first 3 or 4 months this season and the 2 years before that, Liverpool were all over the place. It was like they'd be outstanding for like 2 months. Then they'd be shocking for like 2 months and they'd get like 4 points.
Yeah.
Then it was that cycle. Van Dijk seems to have just ended that completely. Like, they've been excellent since his arrival, really. Maybe a few weeks after his arrival, because his first few games he looked just all over the place. He looked overweight, actually. He looked a bit of a mess.
Yeah, well, they haven't been playing for months.
Yeah, and now it's actually amazing the change they had. 6 months ago, I went from thinking, oh, they're probably, if Arsenal are going to get in the top 4, it'll probably be at their expense.
Yeah.
To me now thinking, if they had Van Dijk at the start of the season, they'd be very close to Man City. I still don't think they would have won the league, but I think we'd have actually had a title race this year.
Right, we're going to need to wrap it up because we're currently over time already, even though we've still got 2 more topics to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
But from next week on, I think we're talking about doing 2 shows if we can.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll be able to cover a lot of stuff then, so look forward to that. But basically, the key points from what we were going to talk about is that Ollie went to Rome and watched Roma, and also West Ham aren't going to get relegated. So
basically, yeah.
We're going to stretch that out into a 45-minute discussion.
Exactly. We can do that
next time. After West Ham beat Leicester 5-0.
In fact, it makes sense to talk about Roma and Liverpool when they've actually played.
Yeah.
Rather than me just...
Quick prediction, 1 sentence.
Roma to win, but Liverpool to go through.
Okay. Yeah, that seems fair.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for listening. Goodbye.